news for the day. Yesterday, GenCon Online opened up their registration at 12 noon, and Josh and I got all of the games that we registered for. Woohoo! We got a Pathfinder game on Thursday. We got a Pathfinder game on Friday. We got the Pathfinder special on Saturday. Starfinder game Saturday night. And one more Pathfinder quest on Sunday to round it out. So, lots of Pathfinder. Woohoo! We're just doing one a day because we got the kids and we got to make sure we're spending time with the kids and keeping them under fairly good control. But I'll take it. It's going to be good stuff. And I'm excited. I'm going to try really hard to play in the Starfinder game. I mentioned in a few videos ago that I wasn't sure if I would play a Starfinder game. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build a character and I'm going to play in this one and see if I want to keep on playing the character. The National Strategic Decision-Making game is not going to be running, but they are going to be doing seminars. I believe my brother said they're doing about 11 seminars on all sorts of different history topics, but also big topics. So like, it's the anniversary of the major battles that won World War II. So they're going to be discussing that in one of them. So my brother was like, I want to watch all of them. Like, I don't think you have enough time to watch all of them, but sign up for them. I mean, what harm could it do at this point, right? They're seminars. So sign up for them so that they get credit for it, and then watch as many as you possibly can. So it's going to be good. It's going to be very interesting to see the options that GenCon Online has with the limitations that we have in current society, to see if this is something that will continue to happen even after we're able to come back together in a physical building again, because I strongly suspect it will. As we talked about in the podcast that we did a few days ago, I think this is something that's going to be with us. I don't think it's something that's going to go away. And in some ways, I think it's a good thing, because this is an opportunity for people who are far away and may not have the finances to come to GenCon. They may not have the time to come to GenCon. They may not be able to get off work, for instance. And this will begin to create an opportunity for them to be able to attend. And that is a good thing. For instance, this year, Josh and I were able to attend PaizoCon, which is something that we have not been able to do because we have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Because then he'd be going to PaizoCon, I'd be watching the kids, or the other way around. And that's not a decent solution. But we were able to go this year. We were able to play games. We had great experiences. Same thing for Concurrent. We wouldn't have had the ability to go to Origins this year for the same reason. But because it was being offered online, we were actually able to go. And that's exciting. So even though this has been an incredibly challenging year in so many ways, I think it has forced us to stretch our concept of what gaming is and what gaming can be. There is a way to reach people who are not able to travel physically to be with you at a convention. And that's good news. That's good news for gamers. That's good news for conventions. Good news for gaming publishers. It's good news for a lot of people. So I'm trying to look at the positive of this. But believe me, I'm looking forward to gathering all together again at GenCon, because there is nothing like walking into that exhibit hall for the first time every year. I feel like it's fresh every single year. And I usually walk in those double doors and then I just look from left to right and just look at everything. And I take a deep breath and I'm just like, oh, the possibilities. Oh, the possibilities. So, I'm Dr. Deb with the Established Facts. I'm a gamer, I'm a doctor, and this is today's case. If someone is coming into Pathfinder 2nd Ed for the first time, and they're interested in playing a character, but they've never played in an RPG before, this will be their very first time. They are green, they've got no experience except maybe they watched you play a game once and they're interested in trying it. Or maybe they're just intrigued by the idea. There are 12 core classes in Pathfinder 2nd Ed. Which ones would be the best for a noob to play? Which ones would be the hardest for a noob to play? And where do the other ones fall on that spectrum? Before I go into objective, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sure that Josh, Big Don, Lance, Avital are all going to disagree with my choices. And that's okay, because that's more content for the podcast. So, yay for content. So I'm going to talk, And they're going to watch this, and I'm sure they're going to be like, oh, no, you got it totally wrong, Deb. This is the way it is. And I'll be like, let's put it on the mics. So, in my opinion, I think that the 3 easiest classes to play in Pathfinder 2nd Ed for a new player are Barbarian, Fighter, and Ranger. I'll explain why in a minute, or maybe that'll be tomorrow's video, not sure. But Barbarian, Fighter, Ranger. The hardest, in my opinion, to play for a new player, I would say would be Wizard, Alchemist, and Rogue, which puts the other 6 somewhere in the middle. The 6 that are left, if I can do this by memory, are the Bard, the Champion, the Cleric, the Druid, the Monk, and the Sorcerer. So where do they fall on the continuum, in my opinion? In my professional opinion, I believe that the Bard falls actually a little bit closer on the harder side. Cleric, I also feel falls a little bit more on the harder side. I feel like Sorcerer is on the easier side. I also feel that the Monk is on the easier side. I think Druid is pretty much in the middle. Maybe leans easier, but I feel like it's middle. And Champion, I feel like leans hard, but is in the middle. So Druid, Champion in the middle, but Druid leans a little easy and Champion leans a little hard. I will explain right now why I believe that the Fighter, the Barbarian, and the Ranger are your easiest for a new player to start off with. Well, frankly, the Barbarian, the Fighter, and the Ranger are always going to have something to do because they kill monsters. Fighter and Barbarians rush in, usually melee, although they can be ranged, but they're usually melee. And your Ranger is ranged. That's why he's called a Ranger. So somebody who isn't necessarily the personality wants to rush in and just kind of bull rush the situation, Ranger's a good choice. Feats aren't terribly complicated. You know, you have your Fighter feats and you have your Barbarian feats. It's pretty obvious what they need. You know, things like they need good niche, feats to help them to hit more, feats to help them to hit stronger. They don't have to deal with spell books. They don't have to deal with how many spells they know, how many spells are they casting per day. Do they have to pray every day to get their spells? Also, they can wear armor. The Barbarian, I don't think can wear armor, but he's got a decent AC because he's a Barbarian. But Fighter and Ranger can definitely wear some armor, and that's a very helpful thing when you're a new player because you don't necessarily know yet how to avoid that monster smacking you upside the head. So better armor is helpful for new players. Also, the concepts are fairly easy for them to imagine. You have very famous movies that basically give you examples. Ranger, you know, you can basically picture Legolas in the Lord of the Rings. Fighter, pretty obvious, you know, the soldier standing guard. And the Barbarian, I don't know, I kind of picture Gimli from the Lord of the Rings from the Barbarian. I know he wasn't really a barbarian, but he kind of felt like it, because just the 21, 22, 23 feels very barbarian-like to me, especially if you have someone who really wants to fight, who's kind of fascinated by the whole, you know, take out the bad guy, take out the monsters. I think that those 3 would be ideal. Now, the complicated ones, which I believe are the Wizard, the Alchemist, and the Rogue. Wizard is complicated because you have to deal with that spell book. Also, they're a bit of a challenge because their strongest attribute is going to be their intelligence. And so, frankly, they're going to be kind of squishy early on. And so someone playing a wizard has to understand you're not going to be going up and rushing into the middle of that. You're going to have to back off. Also, you don't know very many powerful spells when you're a 1st or 2nd level wizard. You have to come into your own. So for a new player, that's an added layer of challenge. Now, if it's someone who isn't the rush in kind of personality anyway, and they kind of want to hang back and more of a kind of ponder, see what's going on, a wizard might be a good fit. But for most new players who want to get right in there and get a feel and a taste for the game, I think it's a bit too distant and it's a bit too cerebral. Same idea with the alchemist. The alchemist has got to have the formulas, they've got to make the concoctions that they're going to be using. And the coordination of that, because it's not just pull out a sword and fight, you have to actually make that thing. It can be a bit of a challenge. Make sure that you've got the equipment to do it, make sure you've got the ingredients to be able to do it, and make sure that you have the formula to be able to do it. And then finally the rogue, and I know I'm probably going to get an argument on that the rogue's hard to play, but my argument for the rogue is so much of what they do has to be sneaky, so the player has to remember to constantly be stealthing, and then next they've got to be able to realize that in every encounter they go into, that stealth is going to be their best friend, so they have to remember to make the stealth check. Also, they have to keep an eye on flanking to make sure that they're getting their flat-footed bonus if they didn't make the stealth check. And they have to remember that sneak attack damage when they roll. How much is that sneak attack damage? Rogues are incredibly fun to play. And if you've got someone who is detail-oriented, all right, I would give them a chance with the rogue. But I don't think I would do rogue first. I think I would suggest doing a fighter barbarian first, learn about flanking from a fighter's perspective, because the fighter doesn't need stealth to be able to do the flat-footed. The fighter just walks over, flanks, and smashes the thing. And then maybe a rogue for a second time, but it's going to depend on the player and the personality. Assessment. Pala minutia character. Many details in a character. My plan? Well, my personal plan is I want to play every single class in Pathfinder 2nd Ed, at least up to 8th to 10th level, to really get a feel for them, because I have not played every class in Pathfinder 1st Ed. So this is now my mission in 2nd Ed, and I've already gotten started because I'm playing a monk, and this is the first monk I've ever played. And she was 3rd level, she'll be a 4th level by the time GenCon's over. And I'm starting to understand more how the flow of the monk goes and how they're a different flow than the casters that I've played, because I've played sorcerers, I've played clerics, I have played a bard briefly, but I definitely want to expand out. I think after the monk, I think I'm going to build a wizard. I think I want to be a wizard, Harry. So, what about you? Which are your favorite Pathfinder classes, and which are ones that you would steer totally clear of and don't want to play? But maybe you should give them a try to see. For one thing, there's going to be some difference between 1st Ed and 2nd Ed Pathfinder in those characters. And as we delve in deeper into those characters, maybe in a future video or on the podcast, that'd be a great podcast topic as well. A character that you might not have wanted to play might actually be a good option now. Have you played every class in Pathfinder 2nd Ed or Pathfinder 1st Ed? If you've done it in 2nd Ed, I'm impressed, because there hasn't been a lot of time. Have you done it in 1st Ed? Let us know down in the comments. I'm Dr. Deb with The Established Facts. I'm a doctor, I'm a gamer, and this has been my gaming consult.